Well, hello, aspiring political wonks. It's great to see you here at the website on a study Friday evening. And in the background, a little music. One of the greatest songs ever written, one of the greatest bands. If you know who this band and what this song is, you know a lot about. In fact, you probably have very, very good taste in music. And I'll give you a little reward if you figure it out. But let's dig in now and get started with our political roundup. All right. Smooth sailing. So first, let's just wrap up the week before we get to the breaking news at the end of the Friday. So we've made it through Chapter 2, the Constitution. You are going to have your exam on Monday. You need to know a couple things about the Constitution heading into that exam. You want to make sure you understand the arguments of the Federalists compared with the arguments of the Anti-Federalists, specifically how they were, how the Constitution was founded in the Madisonian model. And you want to know a little something about formal and informal amendments, what the differences are, and the methodology of how a formal amendment can actually be adopted into the Constitution. If you know that, you should also know the structure of the Constitution. If you want to see where the president has his power, what article you should look at. What about the legislative branch? What article you should look at? How many amendments there are? And you should do pretty good on this test. Probably 45 questions, I think. Some true, false, as we're building our stamina and trying to begin to start duplicating some of the level of complexity of the AP exam. So that's Monday. Tuesday we'll have our first FRQ, a little more instruction on how to do that. And I think when you just take a deep breath, you settle in, you realize how much you actually know, you're going to actually enjoy FRQs compared to the DBQs. And you'll build your checklists out as we were discussing today in class, and you're going to just rock and roll through those. But back to some politics. Very interesting developments at the end of Friday. Russia has, we're going to start off with foreign policy. Russia has moved fighter jets into Syria. Well, what is this about? What is going on here? Syria is unraveling civil war. We've talked a little bit about it. That's where the Islamic State is. And now Russia has sent fighter jets to the Syrian government to support the dictator there, Bashar al-Assad. Syria is saying that this buildup is defensive in nature, designed to honor commitments Russia has made to the Syrian government. Meanwhile, U.S. policy in Syria is really at an inflection point. What do I mean by that? Well, right. Recently, we tried to support a number of moderate rebels who would be able to fight against the Syrian government's army and ISIS, and just a disaster there. They trained about 60 guys, and then they all got kidnapped as soon as they crossed the Turkish border. Not good. The defense officials said, though, that at least 4 Russian tactical fighter jets have arrived at the rapidly expanding airfield on the Syrian coast of Latakia. So, over the past 2 weeks, officials have said Russia has dramatically stepped up development of the airfield by sending in housing for up to 2,000 people. Well, people, we mean soldiers, attack helicopters, choppers to transport troops around the country, and artillery. The arrival of the jet fighters is the most concerning development for the U.S., which regularly flies surveillance flights and airstrikes against Islamic State in Syria. So we want to be paying attention to this situation as it continues to build up. So let's turn our attention now to the 2016 election. The main super PAC backing Miss Clinton, you should know what that super PAC is called. You should know the name of that super PAC. We've discussed it in class, and if you're not aware of it at this point, dig in. Find the name of that super PAC. And they've announced that they've raised $25 million since July 1, bringing the total haul of their collections, or the money they raised, to more than $40 million. How about that? Hillary Clinton has a lot, well, Hillary Clinton's PAC, and we've discussed exactly what that means, has a lot of money to begin spending. So, time ran out Thursday for Congress to block the Iran nuclear deal. Obama administration has begun moving assertively to put it into effect. They've appointed an official to oversee its implementation and starting the process of lifting punitive economic sanctions against Tehran. So that's moving forward. The Obama administration also announced additional loosening of sanctions on Cuba. So some significant developments against in regard to nations that have traditionally been on the receiving end of sanctions from us. So Iran getting sanctions loosened through that agreement, diplomatic ties being restored with Cuba, sanctions being lifted against them. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton on the campaign trail outlined a proposal to reduce student debt in a speech at the University of New Hampshire on Friday. You can find a YouTube video clip of that. I think you'll find her points at least to be interesting. If you agree or disagree, you should know where her commentary or her position would be falling on our political spectrum. Is it moderate? Is it left? Is it center on the Democratic side of the political spectrum? So the second Republican debate, as I've been watching more and more clips here and there of it, really just turned into a rhetorical brawl in which Donald Trump's rivals channeled his confrontational style, and they just tried to really put themselves on the same plane as him. So try to watch a little bit more of those clips. And tomorrow, extended coffee chat. Bruegger's told me today that they are in position to provide some bagels to us, so I'll buy the coffee, and we'll do our extended coffee chat enrichment. But the first hour, because look, I am absolutely dissatisfied with the amount of students so far in both AP Psychology and AP Government who have reassessed the first exam. Just not an acceptable amount. I understand that this was a busy week with back to school night. You're in clubs, you're in multiple things. So I'm going to provide an additional hour tomorrow from 10 to 11 for you, as I expressed in class today, to come and reassess whether it's AP Psychology, AP Gov, and possibly you may be able to cover both. It just depends on how you did on the first exam the first time through. But come tomorrow, the first hour is dedicated to coffee, some bagels, and reassessment. The second hour and third hour, I'm going to show, finally, we seem to have enough people to justify and warrant the showing of the video front runners. And we'll talk about all these political terms that they just throw around as if it's common language, which, oh, guess what? By the way, political language is common language. It's pretty much in our vernacular. We use these words regularly. So if you aren't picking up these terms, you are not only doing yourself a disservice in the course, but you're doing yourself a disservice in the general realm of existing, because you need to know what people are saying all around you with their, whether it's political conversation or just general conversation. So we're going to break down all those terms. You'll learn a whole slew of new vocabulary, and you'll be able to really draw links and inferences about how the presidential election unfolds, the process. The election for student body president at Stuyvesant High School, at that public high school, parallels in many ways the primaries and general election that we've begun talking about in class. So I look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow, Happy 68th birthday to the United States Air Force, the finest air, space, and cyber warriors in the world. Did you know it was their birthday? And they're 68 years old. I didn't know either of that, but I think it's true because I read it in a tweet. If you read things in tweets, they're true, right? Excellent. See, I cited my source. And maybe that's why we don't do DBQs, FRQs. Cite the Constitution. All right, guys. We will see you tomorrow. Enjoy your Friday night. Be safe and be courteous. Be courteous to people tonight.